Welcome, fellow Pratchip lovers. I am the Medieval Gnome, and I am bringing you this week's compilation of Pratchips. Our book this past week was The Truth, and stay tuned until the very end because this week you will see Ivy doing a little bit of a Houdini number which leaves her sister Holly bemused. Our book for this week is The Truth. Truth was published in 2000. It's book number 25 in the Discworld series. And The Truth is the book that starts, in many ways, the industrialization subseries of the Discworld books. And it features a young man named William de Worde, whose father is a Lord de Worde, and with whom William does not see eye to eye at all, to the extent that he is now making his own way in the world. He has renounced any claim to any part of the de Worde family, anything. At the beginning of the book, there is a rumor going around Ankh-Morpork. The dwarves can turn lead into gold. And in fact, they can. A group of dwarfs led by Gunilla Goodmountain has come to Ankh-Morpork and set up a printing press. After accidentally getting involved in this endeavor, at least in the eyes of Lord Vetinari, de Worde begins a paper of news in which he tries quite simply to print the truth. But as I'm sure you're aware, some people can't handle the truth. And among those people is a group of plotters who, yes, you guessed it, want to remove Vetinari from power. William de Worde gets wind of this plot, hires a woman by the name of Saccharissa Cripslock to write for the paper, and a vampire iconographer by the name of Otta Shriek. By the end of the book, of course, they dig out this truth, but along the way, they cause a stampede of dogs, well, mostly dogs, or dogs to begin with, through the streets of Ankh-Morpork. The shed in which they are working to produce their paper of news gets burned down. The Guild of Engravers tries to stop them from getting any more paper. Ms. Cripslock is kidnapped by the two bad guys of the book, Mr. Tulip and Mr. Pin, and William de Worde meets an informant who calls himself Deep Bone, and who turns out to be none other than Gaspode, the Wonder Dog. Gaspode leads him to Waffles, Vetinari's dog, whose information is crucial in cracking the case, and that's the truth. Tomorrow we will take a closer look at Otta Shriek, the vampire iconographer, who ends up being one of the most endearing characters in the Discworld series. Thanks for listening, and I'll talk to you tomorrow. The thing about Otta Shriek, the first thing about Otta Shriek, is his name. We know how much Sir Terry loved wordplay, and the vampire, Otta Shriek, his name is spelled O-T-T-O, Otto, and the last name is Shriek, C-H-R-I-E-K. And we slur the Otto a little bit, as we're wont to do, and you get Otta Shriek. Well, Mr. Shriek is a vampire, but he's a black ribboner. He's taken the pledge. He goes for a cocoa and a sing-song every week with the other black ribboners, and he has become obsessed with light to replace, for him, the B word. Otto dresses as a fussy little music hall vampire. He's got the black tie and tails. He's a skinny little man, or was a man, and he plays up the comedic vampire aspect of things in order to get by. But he does not play up his passion for iconography, and in fact there are times when he needs to use a flash to get a good picture. He uses a hod full of salamanders because they give off the intense flash of light, but Otto is a vampire, and as Saccharissa Cripslock observes, strong light hurts vampires. As a matter of fact, sometimes the picture that Otto makes comes at the cost of his being turned into a pile of dust. It takes just a drop of blood to restore him to his normal form, but there is not always a drop of blood available. When he goes to work for the Times, however, William DeWord has the brilliant idea of having Otto simply put a small vial of blood on a chain around his neck so that when he does turn to dust, the vial will crash to the floor and break and instant Otto once again. Otto is also experimenting with dark light, but we will talk about that on Thursday when we talk about the things of the truth. And for today, the only thing I have to say is smile, and I will talk to you tomorrow. It was difficult to figure out a place to talk about for the truth, but wasn't difficult at all to think of some more people to talk about. Two people, in fact. A pair of hired killers, Mr. Tulip and Mr. Penn by name. Mr. Penn is a very weaselly, rat-like little man who prides himself on his appearance, combs his hair back and puts a lot of hair grease in it, and is the brains of the firm, as they call themselves. Mr. Tulip is the muscle to Mr. Penn's brain, and Mr. Tulip is really a much more interesting character, not because he's a psychotic killer, although he is, but because he has, as Sir Terry puts it, a stupidity habit. Mr. Tulip wants to have a drug habit, but he is almost always, I guess pretty much always, ripped off by whatever dealer he buys from, and so he ends up sniffing all the different powdery substances that you can imagine that aren't drugs. He does, in fact, however, try some troll drugs, as he stands a chance to actually outthink trolls, but those drugs don't seem to do anything for him. All of the other substances that he is snorting up his nose, however, do seem to have some physical effects, and those effects serve to make this large, scary man even scarier, since he has an eye that is often revolving. In addition, he sometimes emits sparks. Mr. Tulip also likes to say "ing," and I will give you an example of what I mean. Take your "ing" hands off that "ing" money, or I'll "ing" kill you. Even Mr. Penn cannot explain why Mr. Tulip likes to say "ing," but Saccharissa Cripslock discovers that it is a very satisfactory way to express extreme emotion. But for all this, Mr. Tulip is also an art connoisseur. Musical instruments, statuary, pottery, paintings, it doesn't matter. He is an expert in them all, and when he and Mr. Penn are not working, he loves to tour the museums, where he often points out fakes and errors that they are exhibiting. Truly a man of many parts, most of them terrifying. And I will be back tomorrow with a very unusual thing found in the truth. So I will talk to you then. The vampire Otto Schreck is from Überwald, and as previously reported on Pratchips, he is obsessed with light. He is experimenting with a kind of light that is unique to Überwald, and it is somewhat analogous to the light given off by salamanders when they are startled. Salamanders live on octarine, but they absorb all of the colors of the spectrum and excrete the other colors in a bright flash. Now, the Überwaldian land eel, on the other side, lives in deep underground caves where there is not sunshine and not the lack of light, but the substance of darkness itself. And so, of course, that is what they live on, and they emit dark light when startled. And Otto Schreck is experimenting with these worm-like creatures because he believes that dark light can create iconographs which give a more honest or complete view of reality. Unfortunately, in his attempts to perfect his use of this medium, if you will, he has several mishaps, shall we say. First of all, he is in his darkroom in his cellar with William DeWord and takes a picture with dark light, and the picture ends up showing William DeWord's father right over William's shoulder, which is metaphorically true. But the fun really starts when he uses the eels to make a picture, and Mr. Penn and Mr. Tulip are in the printer shed in disguise, menacing people with knives. Otto comes up from the basement and he uses what he has in his hands, which is his camera fitted with the dark light flash. Being exposed to this terrifies Mr. Penn. Matter of fact, it sends him on the road to psychosis, but it also panics hundreds of dogs whose owners are hopeful of claiming the $25 reward that the Times is offering for the missing Wuffles. There is also an incident with the heaving of the bosoms, but we will save that for another time, and I'll be back next Monday with pyramids, and I will talk to you then. Hey, kid, I heard you calling. Are you in there somewhere? Ivy? Ivy? Oh, hey, Ivy. Whoa. Are you okay? Wow, did you? Ivy, what the? You just... Yeah, pretty good. Huh, sissy? I did it. Want to see how I did it? Well, sure, kid, but... And I guess we'll have to wait till next time to find out if Holly learns how to do it herself.